We'll discuss a little bit about the minhag, the custom of going to the mikvah on Erev Rosh Hashanah and Erev Yom Kippur. Some Hasidim have a custom to go to the mikvah daily. That's a separate discussion, not for today. But I'm discussing the minhag among the Ramah, the Achronim, who bring down the minhag of going to the mikvah on Erev Rosh Hashanah, Erev Yom Kippur. So in fact, there's a Sajagon. The Rosh quotes the Sajagon about going to the mikvah on Erev Yom HaKippurim. On Erev Yom Kippur, he quotes the custom of going to the mikvah, or custom or law. And in fact, he even says to make a bracha. You make a bracha when you go into the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur. And we know in general it's a discussion, our minhag is not to. How we go to the mikvah, or those who go to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur or Erev Rosh Hashanah, do not make a bracha. And it seems to this issue, whether you make a bracha or not, if you hold it's a mitzvah, so maybe we'll see what the source of Sajagon is. Maybe he holds it's a special mitzvah of going to the mikvah, and hence you can make a bracha. Or perhaps the Sajagon also agrees it's only a minhag, but it gets into the question of what type of minhag do you make a bracha on? Because we know there's a machlokas, the Machaber Ramah, the Sfardim Ashkenaz, in terms of which type of minhagim. There's an agreement. Everyone agrees on Yom Tov Sheni, the second day of Yom Tov, we make the brachas on Kiddush or whatever the mitzvahs hayom are. Everyone agrees to that, and everyone agrees on Hoshana Rabbah when we do Chavitas Harava, when we bang the Hoshanas, there is no bracha. The machloket Sfardim Ashkenaz is, what about Chatzi Halel on Rosh Chodesh? So we B'nai Ashkenaz paskin, we do make a bracha, and the Sfardim say no. So the issue is, why do we make a bracha? So the Brisker Rav, other Achronim explain, because on a pure minhag based on a Tosfos, other places, that a pure minhag like Chavitas Harava, so then you don't make a bracha on. But a minhag that has a kiyum and a mitzvah, like it's the same halal we're saying on Yom Tov, here we're only saying Chatzi Halel, so that's enough to warrant a bracha. So Rav Sajagon, so too we assume also mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur, it's not really a mitzvah, it's only a minhag, and therefore we will make a bracha. Rav Sajagon either says there is since we do have a mitzvah of mikvah in terms of someone being tamei and that, so maybe it is enough of a, in other words, everyone agrees it's a mitzvah of mikvah. The question is, whether going to the mikvah on Erev Yom Kippur, is that an extension of the din of someone who's tamei having to go to the mikvah, or is it an independent minhag? Like we say similar by the minhag of blowing shofar in Rosh Hashanah, even though shofar is a mitzvah in the Torah in Rosh Hashanah. So if you assume that it's an extension, the minhag of blowing in Elul is an extension of the mitzvah in the Torah, you could argue you can make a bracha. Our minhag is also not to make a bracha. We assume the minhag of blowing Elul has nothing to do with the mitzvah in the Torah of shofar. So to here, the minhag of going to the mikveh Erev Yom Kippur has nothing to do with the mitzvah deraisa elsewhere. So what is the reason? And so that's the Rav Sajagon, he writes it's a mitzvah to go to the mikveh Erev Yom Kippur and make a bracha. So what is Rav Sajagon based on? So the Rosh suggests he's based on the following halacha. There's the concept of chayiv adam lataris atzmo berega. That someone is tamei. We know 3 shalosh regalim bashana, 3 times a year, when you have to go up to the Beis HaMikdash, go into the Azara, so you have to make sure you're tar. So chayiv adam lataris atzmo berega, before you go into the Beis HaMikdash, you have to be clean. And therefore the Rosh says That's what Rav Sajda Gaon is based on. So certainly, according to the Rush, then it would make sense to go to the mikvah on the Shalosh Regalim, and so too on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But that's what it's based on. Chayiv Adam Mataras Atzim V'Regel. Many Achronim, the Shagis Aryeh among others, does not like this Rush. What do you mean? Based on Chayiv Adam Latar Atzmo B'Regel. There's no din of Ola Regel on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. It's the din of his Shalosh Regalim. In fact, there's a famous discussion, is the Shagis Aryeh, in terms of is there a din of Simcha on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? We know on Yom Tov there's a mitzvah min Torah of Simcha. However, there's a discussion Bizman Hazeh that we no longer have a Beis HaMikdash is Simcha D'Oraisa D'Rabbanan. The Rambam's opinion is it's still D'Oraisa, and Tos's opinion in Moed Katan is that it's D'Rabbanan. So it's a machlokes Rishonim whether Simcha Bizman Hazeh is D'Oraisa. It seems to be a machlokes the Mechaber Ramah, the Mechaber Paskins like the Rambam, and the Ramah like the Balei Tosas. We assume that what's the Nekudas HaMachlokes? The Balei Tosas hold that Simcha is connected to bringing the Karbanos in the Beis HaMikdash. That only applies to Shalosh Regalim. So since there is no mitzvah, since we don't bring the Karbanos, hence Simcha is only D'Rabbanan today. And so what's the Shitas HaRambam then? How come the Rambam holds that Simcha is still the right? So that's what Rav Selevan gave a whole long discussion on a topic for another time. The base Simcha is Ufnei Hashem Elokechem, being in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore you're in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's Simcha. That's why, therefore the Shagris Aryeh rejected the Rush. He says something to do with the Indian of Chayiv Adam L'Taratzon B'Regel. He says because there is no mitzvah of Simcha and Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and therefore, and this like even Bizman Hazeh, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. There's no mitzvah of Simcha min Torah. That point is the point of discussion from the Rambam. It appears that there is a mitzvah of Simcha and Rosh Hashanah. The Lashon HaRambam is it's not a day of Simcha Yisera. It's not a day of over-indulging, over-enjoyment, because it's still a serious day. It's Yom Hadin, but the Rambam points out that there is a mitzvah of Simcha. That's also we see from the Gemara in Erechin that why don't the different days we say Hallel? The Gemara goes through the different days. So the Gemara gets to, so why not Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? They fit the criteria. They're a moed, they're a holiday, they're ikdish ba'asiyas malacha, they have the certain sanctity of the day, and they bring their own korban, so why not Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? So the Gemara answers, you're right, really you should say Hallel. However, since it is appropriate that a person's life is on the line, it's life and death situation, and you're sitting there singing Hallel, so therefore we don't do it. So we see from the Rambam and from the Gemara that there is an element of Simcha, but that's the issue. So therefore the Shagris Aryeh says he disagrees with the Rush. Chayiv Adam L'Taratzon B'Regel, that can't be the reason for Rav Sajda Gaon, because there is no mitzvah on Yom Kippur to be Mitar Atzma. So therefore other Achronim give a totally different reason. According to that reason, it's not limited to, it should be, you should go on the Shalosh Regalim as well. Go to the Mikvah. Other Achronim, therefore the Shagris say that he dismisses it, he says it's not true, you don't have to go to the Mikvah based on that. Other Achronim give a different reason. It goes back to Takanas Ezra. Ezra made many Takanas, and one of the Takanas Ezra made was a Baal Keri, someone who had an emission, he's prohibited in learning Torah or davening until he goes to the mikvah. And that went on for a nice long while. I think it was a couple hundred years, until one of the Tanaim later on abolished it and said that no, that Torah is like Aish, Torah is like fire, Torah can't become impure. You can learn Torah even if you don't go to the mikvah. So that's what happened. So there was Takanas Ezra, and it was abolished regarding Torah. So the question is, what about regarding Tefillah? Ezra instituted not to learn or daven. So in terms of learning, everyone agrees now you can learn even without going to the mikvah. What about davening? So that's a machloket Rishonim. So the Rambam seems to learn that it was the whole Takanas Ezra was suspended, was taken away. In fact, the Rambam writes, apparently he was a closet chassid. He writes that his minhag was to go to the mikveh every day, but Me'ikar Adin, we don't paskin that way. We assume both for tefillah and for Torah, one does not have to go to the mikveh. And the Rush quotes the Ravid, no, it still applies to tefillah. That even though Takanas Ezra was abolished in terms of Torah, but regarding tefillah, you have to go. That's the minhag of the Hasidim who go every time. So we know, as the Ramah writes during Aseret Shemei Tshuva, there are many different chumras we take on, many different stringencies. Eating certain types of, we only eat pas Yisrael, kosher bread, not kosher bread, but bread baked by Jews, or, not pas palter, etc., and other chumras we take on. So therefore, just like we take on chumras and regarding pas palter and other things, so even though Me'ikar Adin, we paskin that you don't really have to go to the mikveh in order to daven, but Rosh Hashanah of Yom Kippur, to be machmir during Aseret Shemei Tshuva, so therefore we go ahead and we go to the mikveh out Takanas Ezra. And in fact, that's why the Bali Musa asked, why is it that we take on chumras, stringencies during Aseret Shemei Tshuva, during the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? Or we're trying to fool God. All year round we don't do this, but let's do some extra things and try to fool God. So the answer is no, you're not fooling God. You can never fool God. He knows what's going on. You're doing it for yourself, as always. Because the more you do, you're affected by your actions and your environments. The more good deeds you do, the more it's going to have an effect on you. So too, the more you do, the more chumras you take on during Aseret Shemei Tshuva, so it'll have an impact on you and make you a different person. So that's why that's what the Bali Musar explained. So that's what the Achronim say. It's a totally different reason. There's nothing to do with Chayiv Adam Watar Atzmo Berego. And that's why we go to the mikvah. But as a din has to do with Takanas Ezra. And others bring down the reason of salvation has it in the Hare Kedem, that based on the Rav Saja going, he holds it the din of tshuva. It's a din of Chayiv Adam, it's a din of Lefnei Hashem Tidharu. You have a din in front of God, we have a chiyuv of being Lefnei Hashem, and therefore Lefnei Hashem Tidharu, that we have to go to the mikvah. In other words, it's a din in tshuva. That's why the whole, he brings down, we know the halacha of a ger, ger shenitzkaya kakatan shenola adam, you become a new person. When a person goes to the mikvah, so you become like a beria chadasha. You become like a new person. And that's why he gets into a discussion, there's a macholkas b'chaber ramah, on the whole topic. We went into birkas kohanim, the halacha of a kohen shaharag, a kohen who kills. Can he do the duchening or not? That's a whole discussion on it. So whatever the exact details are, so the Rama writes him asu tshuva. If he does tshuva, he can. So from the straight reading of the Mechaber, it seems that tshuva doesn't help. That's not our topic here. But from the Rama writes tshuva, it does help. So Rav Soloveitchik explained that's in the Kuda, is what is the power of tshuva. The tshuva, you just get forgiven for your sins by basically You're still the same person, fundamentally. No. Tshuva means ani achir, like the Rambam writes. You go into a mikvah, you become a Beria Chadasha, and that's what tshuva is all about. And that's why even a Kohen Shaharag could go ahead and now do the Dukkaning because he's a new person. It's not the same person anymore. And in fact, that's the whole Kolach HaTfilah. That Litzbalel, Pileo, that's where it comes from. That we're not davening, we're not trying to fool God. God knows everything. God, you don't know I need the money or that person's sick. No, but through davening, through self-inspection, we become a better people. And that's what we have to be transformed. So this is summarized. We point out the minhag of going to the mikvah on Erev Rosh Hashanah of Yom Kippur, what it's based on. Rav Sajagon used to say it's a mitzvah to go on Erev Yom Kippur, and he even made a bracha. Our custom is not to make a bracha because we assume it's probably only a minhag, and therefore it's not a minhag that, apparently it's a minhag that's not connected to the mitzvah and Torah of mikvah. Like we say, like we don't make a bracha on the shofar during Elul, and that's the machlokas with you'd make a blessing on Chatzi Hala Rosh Chodesh or not. And then we said, what's the reason for the Rav Sajagon? So the Rush claims it was based on Chayav Adam Matar Atzmo Beregel, the halacha of that you have to, just like you have to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and you have to be pure, you go into God's house. So to that type of concept, the Shagahai says, no, nothing doing. There is no mitzvah ola rego on Yom Kippur, so therefore forget about that. Other Achronim suggest it's based on whether Takanas Ezra was abolished or not. Well, it was clearly abolished for Torah, whether it was abolished for Tefillah, so therefore we're machmir, or you're out, Me'ikar Din, we passed and you don't really have to go to the mikvah. But on Rosh Hashanah, every Yom Kippur, we take on Chumras, so we go to the mikvah just in case for Takanas Ezra, in case we need it to order to be davening during Aseret Shemei Tshuva. And then we had Rav Sajagon, that based on Rav Salvation, explains based on Lefnei Hashem Tidharu, that basically you have a chiyah because of tshuva, that basically tshuva means getting closer to God, and sin separates us from God as a barrier, so we have to be Lefnei Hashem. One of the Rav Sajagon, one of the ways about tshuva on Yom Kippur is we go to the mikvah, and the koach ha-mikvah is to make someone into a new person. As the Rambam writes, tshuva is about niachir, and that's why the Rambam writes, the Masa Tshuva, Kohen Shahara, the Masa Tshuva, he was able to do Birkas Kohanim because tshuva transforms the person. That's what it's all about. Whether the minhag is to go to the mikvah on Erev Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, everyone agrees the point of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is to transform ourselves into better people. As the Rambam writes, is the whole concept of the shofar as well, the spiritual alarm clock to wake us up to make sure we do tshuva now.